Welcome to our Police Advisory Council workshop. Um, we'll go ahead on and get started. If you like, look over the minutes as well as the agenda. We're not gonna do any voting to approve them. If there's anything that needs to be changed or amended, I guess Deborah, should we just, if there's any desire for changes, should we just add it to the agenda or the minutes from last meeting?
What we'll do is when we're able to meet in person, we'll be able to discuss those. And
Okay, sounds good. So if there isn't any objection to the agenda or the minutes, we'll move forward. Before we get too deep into the meeting, I would like for Mr. Folston to introduce himself. I'm very familiar with his work from Archer to Palaca, and welcome to the city.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to the city of Gainesville, and the floor is yours, sir.
Wow. So thank you to Bob for inviting me tonight. And hopefully you all can hear me. I see so many familiar faces, so many warm faces. And so I'm excited to be able to be here and to be in this role. One of the things that I've shared to people that I had a chance to meet with is that my hope is that I can do more. And that's not to say it hasn't been done before, but I do want to make sure that we have a connection with our community with things like the Police Advisory Board and other organizations within the community. It is my hope that we can be collaborative with people on the front end versus we're getting involved always in a type of on the back end situation. The other thing that I like about this opportunity is it allows us to be able to partner in areas where we have likeness, where we can build a better community, where we can enhance some of the things that you guys are doing and help bridge the gaps in some areas where we may need to play a more active role. So I'm pledging to you guys that if you need us, if you need me, I want to make sure that I'm here to provide assistance, to be able to be that service organization that I believe this office is supposed to be about. And so I'm excited because, again, I see so many people on this Zoom call that I know and I recognize the faces, and I know that this is a good group of people that care about the community and that care about us being able to build those bridges within the community between law enforcement and our citizens and our residents. So I'm excited to be here, to be in this role. I'm excited to be here tonight. Bob, thank you again for inviting me to come, and I'm appreciative. So if you see me here and there poking in, if you see my name down at the bottom, you'll know that I'm in and I'm listening to you guys. But as always, if you need anything, any of you, you have any concerns, any ideas, any thoughts, any wisdom that you want to pass along, please call me. Let's go to lunch. Let's go get coffee. Let's do whatever. Chief, you could take me on the shooting range. I need to practice. Whatever that thing is, you can help me in this regard. I do want to say something about Mike. Mike is getting ready to retire, as we all know, and leave us. But I've known, I think it's Captain, right? Am I wrong? Captain. I met him years ago. His son was playing football on a team that I was coaching years ago. And I always remember meeting you one night. You came in your car, and I never forget speaking to you and talking to you. So I've been following Mike's career for a little minute now. So if I don't get a chance to make it to your retirement, I appreciate your service as always. I wanted to make sure I shared that with you, Mike, when I saw your name up there.
Thanks, Soraya. And and then in Archer, right? You're the city manager, and my wife manages the health clinic right there across the street from City Hall. So
correct.
All right. Small world, small community, but it's great. I think you're an excellent choice. I was so excited when I saw it in the newspaper.
Thank you guys so much. I don't want to hold your time. Thank you so much, Reed, for this opportunity to speak as well. Fareed, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry about that.
Okay, good.
Thank you for letting me know. But yeah, we appreciate you for coming in, and thank you, Bob, for inviting him, because his work is very relevant to what we're doing as well. So we appreciate both of you. So is there any public comment? Do we have anybody from the public with us tonight? No? Okay, so we'll just move on forward. Um, Next we got Chief Jones in his update. Okay, there he's still.
Yeah, I'm still on. Good evening, everyone. Uh, I just want to kind of bring you up to speed a little bit, and I'm going to be very brief tonight as to where we are as far as crime is concerned in Gainesville. What you can look and see is when you begin to look at where we are in 2021 compared to 2020, we have, as far as homicides are concerned, which that's what our one community plan we were looking at. We are at 5. This time last year we were at 6, so we're showing a reduction in that. The sexual batteries, we're at 118 this year, 85 last year, so we showed an increase in that. Robbery, 180, where we were at 129 last year. We showed an increase in that, and aggravated assaults, 489 compared to 476. This mirrors around the United States. Violent crime is up. I can say that as far as some of your robberies and your sexual batteries, we made some significant arrests within the last 2 weeks. So hopefully that will impact some of those numbers. When we begin to look at our property crimes, our burglaries, you can actually see that we're showing a reduction in that 277 to 291 on your burglaries. As far as your larcenies, which would include some of your vehicle or breaking in vehicles, or you would see that we were at 1941 compared to 2329 last year. And when we began to look at our auto theft category, 285, where this time last year we were at 341. So we got a reduction in our property crime. Overall, we're down in crime when we say the Uniform Crime Report by 9.90%. As you all know, you can look at burglary of conveyances, which was included up there. We can see that we're showing a reduction in that. We're showing a reduction in the motorcycle thefts, which and a lot of times those are going to be scooters. When you start looking at Gainesville, and your retail theft, which I often say that we have little to do with, but we work with the local retail establishments. We are also showing a reduction in those particular areas as well. When we began to look at our One Community program, I didn't bring the stats tonight, but ladies and gentlemen, we've recovered a number of guns off the streets of Gainesville. And that was one of the things that we were after. We're also noticing a reduction in calls where we got shots fired within Gainesville. And one of the things that we wanted to do was prevention, intervention. We were doing precision, strategic enforcement. And then we're going to have this committee that is going to form to kind of give us where we are, what their perception of where we are as far as the fear factor within the communities, but also to narrow down what are some of the root causes. Because this is something that I've told staff and I've told the community, we're in this for the long haul. This is not something that you do for a week or 2 weeks or a month and say, okay, well, we knocked it down, let's go back to normal. My goal is to make every street in Gainesville safe for all people to walk. And it's going to take the community, though. We can't do this alone as a police agency. So that's why we termed it as One Community, everybody working together to call these things in. And I can say people are beginning to call crimes in, particularly shots fired in some of the neighborhoods where traditionally you hear about it a day later. They are picking up the phone and dialing and saying, hey, they are shooting in our community. So I'm not ready to take a victory lap on it yet. We got much work to do, but I can tell you from the initial reporting, we are beginning to make a difference in what we're doing out in the community. I'll answer any questions that anyone may have at this time. I think I saw Mr. Cohen's hand.
Yeah. Hey, Chief.
Yes.
Good to hear you. Has there been one of the controversial issues the city has faced, especially with unions, is a vaccine mandate? The
Right.
court has put an injunction today, and it's highly likely, very highly likely, the city commission is going to act on this tomorrow and replace the injunction with, replace the mandate with a more of a Biden plan. Anyway, so my question to you is, what do you hear from your troops on this issue?
Matter of fact, this meeting I had this afternoon, Reverend, I met with some of the leadership from the Fraternal Order of Police. They were elated over the court's decision, and they're hoping that the city commission do something tomorrow. They said they will be in the audience tomorrow at the meeting. They were elated because the big thing was that if that were to be imposed, it would have a tremendous impact on policing in Gainesville.
And the city commission goal is to get more employees vaccinated, and sometimes putting people against the wall works, and sometimes it has the opposite effect. Seemed like it was starting to have the opposite effect. Do you think that there's some strategy to get more officers vaccinated? One officer who I know very well got COVID, wasn't vaccinated, really regrets it. And I had to rush him to the emergency room. He's, back on partial duty now. He says, damn, I should have got vaccinated. And I wanted to know what you think can be done to encourage officers to get more vaccinated. Listening to talk radio probably wouldn't help.
One of the things that I would hope at the end of this that we have some collaboration and talk about those particular things. Look at some of the Biden plan or some of the other plans that are out there, and more education. I think there's a number of options out there, but I think we got to take a collaborative approach as to how we're going to reach the goal. We want our officers safe and we want our officers healthy, but the rate that we were going prior to this ruling would have been devastating to Gainesville. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the city commission will act tomorrow and try to make it more collaborative. And then the challenge will be, what can we do to incentivize those to get vaccinated, disincentivize not to get vaccinated without a mandate? And the reason I bring this up now, it's something that we may want to consider our PAC taking up, of what can we do to help bridge some of the gap between the community and the officers, and what can we do to encourage a safer city without the stick, which wasn't working very well. So
I would welcome that.
Yeah,
I would welcome that.
Okay. Yeah, and you can have a sigh of relief today then, Chief.
Yes. I think I see Ms. Payne hand up. I think I see Ms. Payne hand up.
It is.
Okay.
Oh, hey, so thanks for watching out for me, Chief Jones. I'm looking at these statistics, and I'm just wondering why grand total, it seems to me that when you're talking about, I never feel, when you talked about the different initiatives y'all are looking into because of the shootings, I feel y'all are doing everything you can and that it can't just be hung on the police department. But I do feel when you put the grand total underneath property crimes and violent crimes,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of skewed. I think the total should be kept separate, because then if you're out in the community and you talk about, well, crimes are down 9.9%.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, the property crimes are down, but the violent crimes are up. And so if it's just like the newspaper quoting, oh, crime in Gainesville's down 9.9, I think people would care more about, oh, so aggravated assault is up. So that's my only thing. I guess I always feel like I have to say something, but that's my only point about
Yes,
this.
that is, Ms. Payne, that is the way it's classified by the Uniform Crime Report of the FBI. That's a national model. However, I will tell you that we're moving into another model. We're all getting trained on it. I think COVID and everything else kind of got really Florida and other people behind. So look for in coming months that you're going to see something different. Okay. Actually, it's going to be more categories. Yes, Reverend Griner.
Yeah, Chief, I was looking at the stats and I did notice the increase in rate from 2020. Is there any specific reason for that particular increase from last year?
One of the things
Chief,
go ahead.
you want me
Mike?
to handle that one?
Go ahead, old Mike, because you're going to say what I was going to say. But let Mike, since he's there, I will let Captain Shentrip handle that one.
So there's a couple things going on. Number one, there was actually a true reduction in sexual violence, which is rare. You have to remember sexual violence is one of the most underreported crimes,
Exactly.
right? Maybe 1 out of 3 victims of sexual assault actually report to the police. So we've dove into the numbers a little closer, and we found out that adult sexual violence actually did decrease last year. Not that much, but a lot of it had to be attributed because a lot of our sexual violence occurs at bars, and after parties and stuff like that. And with the lockdown, you saw a lot less of that in Gainesville. So I think there was actually a true, real reduction, not just a numbers reduction. But what we did find out was that one of the biggest drops was in the reporting of child sexual assault. And a lot of that had to do with the schools being shut down. And because the number one reporter is usually teachers, and with the schools being shut down and kids not in school as much, we saw a reduction in reporting there too. So the increase is just getting back. If you look at the numbers, they're no different than they were 2 years ago, right? So COVID had a significant impact on where we're at. And the fact is, Mr. Griner, is that we want to see more numbers in sexual violence because it's so underreported. We want more survivors to feel comfortable enough to come to the police department and report the crime, right? That's our goal. So it's so underreported at this point. We want more women or men to feel comfortable coming to us, reporting the crime, so we can go get those predators and those rapists off the street. So that's one of the numbers I try to tell the chief, that's a number that if it goes up, it's okay. All the other numbers we want to go down. That's one number where we actually want it to go up because we want more people to report because it's so underreported overall.
And that's kind of what I thought when I looked at the stats, because COVID has affected many categories because of the pandemic. And I kind of theorized that with the difference between last year at the height of the pandemic and then this year, more folks now are prone to report crimes and activities they will not have reported last year during the height of the pandemic. So it's kind of what I thought. I just wanted to hear that. So thanks for the clarification. That's kind of what I had in my mind when I read the
yes, sir.
The difference from last year to this year. So
Thank you.
thank you, appreciate that, and God bless you in your retirement. But very well deserved.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions of me?
Chief, I got one for you.
Go ahead.
So I was reading an opinion piece in the Alachua Chronicle, and there seems to be a little bit of a misunderstanding about the rollout and funding of the violence interrupters. Can you clarify your funding sources and how you plan to use them? Because there seems to be the misunderstanding that they're going to be replacing police officers and that there's some type of defunding of Gainesville Police Department.
Yes, that is not. So they're what the money is coming from is from really salary savings. And those two are for 1 year. We got a state grant that will be coming before the commission somewhere in October for an additional 4 interrupters. And then we have a federal grant that will be coming down the line. Why am I investing in violence interrupters? I need individuals that are out there in the street that are known by the community. And to be candid with you, some of them may have criminal backgrounds. I'll repeat that again. They could be justice involved individuals that in the past, they did some things, but they want the best for the community. Their particular role is mediation, conflict mediation. A lot of times things grow out of sync, and I could do a bigger thing on this, but conflict mediation, then working with what we call those individuals that are known to be carriers of violence, those individuals that have repeated history of carrying out violent threats or whatever the case may be. And thirdly, mobilizing the community. Get the community engaged and say, like, this is our community. We're not going to have this type of violent atmosphere occur within the respective neighborhoods. We do have some individuals that we had to dodge COVID last year working with the Black on Black Crime Task Force. That's who they were employed up under. They have did a tremendous job within the neighborhoods. They did get COVID. They did catch it because they were out there in the community. But I look for great things to come from this particular program. I saw the article. I think that was inaccurate. I also saw a cartoon or caricature of them. I thought it was very demeaning that was published. But I overall, I feel very comfortable about the program. I've seen it in other cities, and I'm happy that we finally have identified some funding to introduce it to Gainesville.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
Is there any other questions for Chief? Well, thank you, Chief.
No problem.
Next up, we have our public information policy. Assistant Chief Scott.
Good evening, everyone.
How you doing, sir?
I have the privilege of we're going over a rewrite or an addition that we made to our public information unit policy. And this really came about as a result of the homicide we had a few months ago, and we put out a photograph, which was the Florida driver's license ID photograph. Apparently there's some folks that took offense to that online and communicated some concern about methodology that we use. So, in keeping with being a community-oriented police agency, we decided to sit down and review it and invited some folks to come in and give us some feedback. We spoke with the victim's advocate, also spoke with the criminal investigations division, a supervisor from the division. We felt that the advocates would have a good ability to relate what the victim's family actually feels, and it might be able to relate to a little bit better and give us some good insight. So we rewrote the policy or added to the policy, and if you can scroll down, we'll get to that section that deals with homicide news releases. Hold on just a minute. Let's see. No, that's not it. Okay, I think you just passed it, I believe. Can you slide up some? Keep going. I think that's it right there. And that's C. And you see in C, this speaks to how we prepare to release it. And simply, unless it's an exigent circumstance that exists, any photographs of homicide victims used in GPD news releases shall be the state driver's license ID photo. Upon approval by the chief of police, a CID representative will contact a family representative prior to issuing the news release and provide said, can you scroll up for me? Representative the opportunity to review the news release to include a photograph of the homicide victim. The CID representative may be a sworn officer or victim's advocate. At that time, the family will be given an opportunity to provide a different photograph for news releases. This is an older version of it because we changed this, but I'll continue. Ideally, this should occur within 8 hours of the initial review of the initial news release draft. If a photograph other than a state driver's license ID photo is used, the source of the photo will be identified. Let me read to you what should be there. It's a little bit different. It says, generally, state driver's license ID photographs of homicide victims will be utilized by GPD news releases unless exigent circumstances exist or a victim's family representative provides a more representative photograph. If time allows and upon approval by the office of the chief or designee, a CID representative will contact the family representative prior to issuing the news release and provide said representative the opportunity to review the news release to include the photograph of the homicide victim. The CID representative may be a sworn officer or victim's advocate. At that time, the victim will be given the opportunity to provide a different photograph for news release. Ideally, this should occur within 8 hours of the review of the initial news release draft. If a photograph other than a state driver's license ID photo is used, the source of the photo will be included in the release. Upon receiving final approval of the photograph by the victim family, the news release will be disseminated. So basically what we did was to incorporate the family being given an opportunity to provide a photograph that we could use in place of the state ID. Now, that photograph should be something representative of how the person actually looks. And again, we want to make sure that it's done in proper order. We will use that photograph and we will designate that photograph was provided by the family. And if not, then we're going to be using the state ID photograph. I can't think of a situation where we would use a photograph, a mugshot, so to speak, unless there was absolutely no other photograph that was provided or available. But I can't see where that would be the situation, since most of these folks will be folks that have some type of ID and or the family would have some type of photo. But we did this in an attempt to try to be responsive to some of the concerns that sometimes the family isn't pleased with the photo that was used. And you know, there are a lot of folks that have opinions about the photographs that we put out, but I think the primary responsiveness needs to be to the family. If the family says this photo is okay, and so before we send it out, the family gets a chance to actually review it and approve it before we actually disseminate it. Are there any questions on what I presented so far? And again, I want to say that this was a group effort. The talking with the CID supervisor, that's why I know the 2 hours were wrong. He said there's no need to rush it. I mean, sometimes it's the day before we put it out. So the 8 hour, if it was something exigent and we had to get it out, it may not have a photograph to it. But most times we have an opportunity to take time and let folks have some input. And again, it's a common courtesy that we're allowing the family to review what we're going to put out and have some input into how we disseminate that information. Any questions? Okay, that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you.
Sure.
Next up for his victory lap, Captain Mike Shintrip is going to be doing a presentation on the Community Safety Awareness Center. The floor is yours, sir.
All right, Deborah's going to put up a slideshow. And this is really, I know there's going to be a lot of questions, and I'll be glad to answer any questions anybody has. So just if you want to raise your hand in the middle of it, or if you want to wait till the end, that's completely however you guys feel. All right. So Community Safety and Awareness Center is just another name for what a lot of municipalities, areas call a real-time crime center. We're going to talk about how we integrate videos. We'll talk about what a CSAC operator, that's short for Community Safety and Awareness Center operator, looks like. LPRs means license plate readers. There's going to be some emergency management aspects to it. And of course, we've talked about our drone program in the past, and any drone video can be integrated into our real-time crime center, or CSAC also. Next slide. All right, so let's talk about video integration. Right now, the city has manages all the traffic cameras in the county. Traffic management system manages all those cameras. So GPD had access to a limited number of those cameras. We just got a much more robust system and added some video screen displays in our CSAC, which is a room. So we do have a room in our station, right in the Patrol Bureau, that is designated as our Community Safety and Awareness Center. We installed some cameras right behind Midtown on Northwest First Avenue. When they did some of the, CRA did some redesign right there along the streets and stuff. We've integrated our own cameras within our station. Bo Diddley Plaza, when CRA did some work there too. We have some video cameras of Bo Diddley. We were thinking about trying to get GRU and integrate some of their cameras of their locations, kind of Homeland Security type stuff. We haven't been able to do that yet. We're still working on that. But what I want to assure everybody is nobody's sitting in this room looking at cameras and trying to find people committing crimes. That's not what it's there for, right? Really, the cameras are there just so we can redirect them if we know something is already occurring. If a call comes on the screen, we want to be able to use the cameras we already have to give our officers situational awareness and our leaders situational awareness of what's occurring. So nobody is sitting in this room looking at cameras trying to find people committing crimes. That's not what we do. And again, we've said it before and I'll say it again. There is no facial recognition running on these cameras. It's not like you see on a TV where you have these little boxes, people walking down the street and boxes around their face, and we're trying to figure out who they are. We do not do that. It's against our policy. It's against our character as an agency. We have no desire to do that. All right, next slide. So let's talk a little bit about facial recognition, because that's a big question, right? Only 6 members of our agency, and in fact, I don't think we have all 6 using it right now, have access to a facial recognition program. At least the one that is most robust and the one we use the most. We do not store any facial recognition data. That is not something we do. We have a very strict policy on facial recognition. And more importantly on that, we have monthly audits completed by Chief Inspector Koenig on the use of our facial recognition. So very strict about it, but it's an important tool in the toolbox, right? It's not something we rely on all the time. It's just one tool. So how else could the traffic cameras help? During pursuits, our staff can monitor entire chunks of roadway to make sure there's upcoming impediments. Maybe there's a tractor trailer moving up ahead. They can warn officers about what's coming. Command staff, if there is a pursuit, can literally watch the pursuit from the CSAC in real time as it's occurring and make give them better situational awareness and make command decisions if they need to. Of course, what if there's a major accident, right? We can immediately see, do we need to get more resources there? What else is needed at that scene? So traffic cam integration is important. Let me give you an example. During the hurricanes, we're constantly monitoring 34th Street and Hogtown Creek to see, is it going to flood? Instead of putting an officer there sitting in a car, we just have a camera looking at that location to see if the water is rising onto the roadway. So it gives us a lot of operational information. Next slide. Downtown parking garage. I think we're going to be able to integrate some of those. We've had a lot of problems there recently. Some point, apartment complexes and maybe even businesses. That's not something we're doing at this moment. We do have access to some apartment complex video, but it's clunky. It's not great. We want a better way to integrate it. So, but that's for the future. Of course, license plate readers are a big part of our community now, especially around the university. It was part of their safety security plan for UF, but we have access to those live alerts and hits. And we've also installed 8 of our own that the city paid for at different locations, both on the east side and the west side of the city. The CSAC operators, ultimately civilians, can monitor the license plate readers as they get hits. Next slide. So how could we integrate it? As a patrol officer takes a report, right, of a stolen car, instead of waiting an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to get that information into our state database, a CSAC operator can take that license plate and immediately input it into our license plate reader system. As long as we've confirmed the car is stolen, right? We want to make sure it's stolen first, stolen from the registered owner. Everything lines up. Get that plate into the license plate recognition system immediately to see where this car is going. I will say, if you noticed, Grand Theft Auto is down by 16% this year. I attribute that. There's no direct, I can't say what is a correlation versus coincidence. So there's definitely a correlation here that a full implementation of license plate readers started middle of last year, fully invested into this year. We've seen a 16% decrease in Grand Theft Auto. And I think you have to say that that's part of the reason our crime is going down in that one category. So Richard Spencer event, if you remember, we had the white nationalists come, and during that we had a shooting. Well, immediately after the shooting, we had a witness get the license plate. Now we just happened to find the car by luck. If we would have had license plate readers operational, we could have put that license plate immediately into the system, and we probably would have picked up on it a little bit faster than we would have otherwise. So that's just a situation where you could use it and you understand where technology can really help out. Right. Next slide. Most of you know about the hit and run fatality at 2000 West University last December. A tragic case, never would have been solved. Never would have been solved without license plate readers. We had no idea who did that. Just recently, and I created this slide for last month, so now it's probably about 6 weeks old, but we had a group of burglars come into Gainesville after committing a series of business burglaries in Ocala. And what they do is they travel up and down the interstate. Somebody in Ocala had gotten the tag. They gave us a heads up. We put it into our license plate reader system, got a hit. We knew they were in town. We figured out approximately where they were, started scouring the area. We intercepted them at the Knights Inn and they were parked there. They were staying there that night, and we found them, and their car was just chock full of stuff stolen from burglaries in Marion County. So, and also we probably prevented something from happening here. Next slide. So as the CSAC operators get an LPR hit, they can immediately confirm to make sure the car is stolen. And then, hey, let's take those traffic cameras and see where the hit was, and let's see where this car is going, and let's let patrol officers kind of figure out where that car is and give them better operational awareness of what they're looking for. They can actually maybe guide them to the stolen car using the traffic cameras. And when I say stolen car, it could be anything. It could be a homicide, a felony vehicle related to a homicide, or a missing person, or an Amber Alert. Could be a lot of reasons that a license plate recognition tag hits in our system. Again, pursuits. If you have license plate readers, you can maybe call off the pursuit sooner. You're going to get the tag. We can do some follow-up and figure out who was in the car later, right? Safer for the citizens. We don't like to pursue fleeing vehicles anyway, so it's really not worth it unless it's a super serious crime. Next slide. And so you ask about storage. So currently license plate reads are held by the vendor, which is Vigilant. It's now owned by Motorola on a secure server, right? So we don't hold the data at our agency. Now we can regulate the data. We can decide how long we're going to hold it. And right now we hold license plate reader data for 1 year for investigative purposes, for after the fact investigations. Next slide. So what can a CSAC operator do in the future? And this would be a civilian position. This would not be a sworn officer. They can monitor our license plate readers, monitor our cameras when a call for service arises or LPR hit, monitor radio traffic, and provide instant crime intelligence. So as the call is coming out and being dispatched, they can do research in our databases to see, hey, what's the history of that house they're going to? Have they had domestic violence calls in the past? How about this suspect that they list? What kind of criminal history do they have? Are they a threat to the community, or is this a first-time thing for this person we have really no history on? Just to kind of give the officers better situational awareness, better awareness in general of what they're walking into. And there's also an emergency management function, right? We're going to have access to all the cameras in the county, timely information for their decision makers, the city manager, the chief, the fire chief, Chief Dixon, at our emergency operations center. We are going to be putting up a video board, a bigger video wall, as they say, in our Hall of Heroes, which is also the city's designated emergency operations center. That's part of what I call our phase 2 installation that we should be doing soon. And we should be able to cast videos, different parts of not just our building, but to other parts of the organization too. So coming soon, we're adding 2 crime analyst positions. They're going to be people who work in the Community Safety and Awareness Center, most likely 10 hours a day to start. That would run 7 days a week. That's our goal, 10 hours a day. Ultimately, we would need 2 to 3 more, with the goal to run it about 19 to 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. That would be our goal. Right now, we're opening it up using sworn personnel during special events like this past weekend and this upcoming weekend. We'll have our real-time crime center, or CSAC. We have it open till 3 a.m. in the morning. We'll have it open again this Tennessee game weekend till 3 a.m. in the morning. For the homecoming parade, we'll have it open. For any other special events like that, we do open it up right now, but we're hoping to start using civilian staff instead. Benefits, using civilian staff is a force multiplier regardless of how you use it. Any way we can use civilians to help sworn members become more effective, it's a force multiplier. And also on top of that, the technology. I've said it before, I believe license plate readers are absolutely 100% neutral, right? They have no idea who's in the car, zero. All they know is that license plate is connected to a crime, right? So without having to make a bunch of random stops, our officers now know that car is committing a crime, whether it's grand theft auto, if it's a felony vehicle, or something like that. And our decision makers have much more actionable intelligence to use to help make better informed decisions. The more information you have, the better decision you can make as soon as possible. And I think that's it. Oh, maybe not. Again, what are some of our controls and our policies? Management determines how technology is used, right? We determine that. The chief ultimately makes the decision on how we use our technology and what type of technology we can use. Parameters can be set to determine how long we store the data. We've made a decision now to store LPR data for 1 year. We could change that. We could change it to 5 years. Some people store it indefinitely. I'm not in favor of that. We could shorten it, but I'm not in favor of that either. I think 1 year is a good compromise. License plate reader data is not a public record. Neither is the location of license plate readers, even though you can see them on poles, but they are not public record. They are exempt. But video data is a public record, and it has to be stored pursuant to public record laws for 30 days. So we do not record. That's another good point too. We do not record any of the traffic cameras. Okay, hold on. We have the capability to record a few in special circumstances. If we have a crime wave, or if we have a special event going on that we want to potentially make a record of, but we do not routinely store the 150 cameras we have within the city limits. That is not something we even want to do, actually, because it would be a public records nightmare. So that is not our goal to do that either. All right, so the Criminal Intelligence Unit, or CIU, also is the idea is to kind of integrate officers along with our crime analysis staff to more effectively use our Community Safety and Awareness Center. Started last year. It's just one sergeant and 2 investigators. Currently, they're working hand in hand with our Special Investigations Division, targeting some violent offenders, working on some of the chief's goals in the One Community project. Works in tandem with our crime analysis, assists on our JBATS program, which is kind of on hold right now because our main crime analyst in that regard is on FMLA, but that is a good program. And of course, they also monitor youth and gang activity on social media, and that's what their responsibility is. So we don't have a per se gang unit, but the Criminal Intelligence Unit's taken on that responsibility. And that's it. All right, I do see a hand up, Mr. Griner. I saw your hand up. There you are.
Yeah, just to say, not really a question, but looking at hearing your report, I think this is a great system. I love it, and I think it'll go a long way to help in the area of officer safety, because if officers know in advance what they're going into, that would decrease the chances of any ambushes or what has been going on in the past year across the country. So I love the system. I love the fact that it will help with gathering data and also help keep officers safe in the process.
Thank you, Mr. Griner. And I will say that, and I think this is sometimes lost on people, is that the example is, say you have somebody wielding some type of knife or something like that at the corner of 13th Street and University Avenue, right? And we have 2 traffic cameras right there. This is the point. The point is that if officers know what they're going to, right, it actually doesn't, it makes the officer safer. It actually makes the suspect safer also, because instead of being surprised, like they just walk up to him by accident, if they already know what corner he's on, what he's wearing, what's he holding in his hand, it makes the suspect safer also. So I think it goes both ways, but you're absolutely right, Mr. Brown. Thank you. All right, Ms. Payne, I think you were next.
So I had these questions from when we were supposed to review it for the last meeting. So two things, you talked about video data stored, but you all don't actually record except special events. I would assume that's like during the UF football game. So if you don't see anything, do you have to store it? And then for public access, the other thing is, it's something that I brought up at the beginning of my term. I am very concerned about the monitoring of social media, the whole, I know you're saying you don't have a gang unit, but when I was a crossing guard, we actually did have a presentation on a bunch of very buff people came in to talk about what they do monitoring the social media and working with alleged gang members. And I know the kids are throwing up signs on social media. So I am very concerned about that unit. And if we don't want to talk about it tonight, I would like to. There's a lot of data. And congratulations for retiring. You look too young to retire, but I would like us to explore exactly, because I do think people can be pigeonholed by their social media and stuff and who they associate with. And there's a lot of national data of how that helps push kids to feel like they've already been assigned a role. So I think at some point, I just would like for us to talk about it more. I know Captain Kernick will get right on it, but.
Yeah, and let me answer it. So, I don't want to mislead you. We do record cameras on Northwest First Avenue, right? And Bo Diddley Plaza. So those are the cameras that we installed. So those are being recorded, right? We don't record traffic cameras routinely, very infrequently. We're not recording them during football games. I believe though, UPD may be recording them around campus on football game days. In case something occurs around campus, right? To your next point, completely understand. I will say that, yeah, I mean, our officers have to, I don't want to say monitor, but Ms. Payne, I think we would be, if we're not recognizing 16 and 15-year-olds on social media, dancing with real guns, you know, these aren't fake firearms. These are real firearms. You can see the bullets in them as they take them out. That has to be a red flag. And if we don't pay attention to that, in my opinion, as a guy who's walking out the door in 7 days, we're not doing our job. So.
Can I just add, I would like to talk about more in another meeting.
Sure.
I get what you're saying, but the slides that I saw showed the kids like flashing gang signs and stuff. And I'm sure that's not just what.
Oh, I understand what you're saying. So that's probably not what we're doing. I mean, I get what you're saying, but
okay.
And yes, maybe it's for a bigger conversation. Who's Duncan, Mr. Purvis?
Yeah, hi, thanks for that presentation. That's very helpful. I just wanted to ask if there are any plans for, I don't know what you'd call it, sort of like place-based proactive policing, sort of risk assessment systems to be incorporated into the CSAC operations, or a person-based proactive policing program. I'm just curious if there's anything like that on the horizon.
So there's, you know, you have to be careful, right? Place-based policing is good. You know, understand? We do work in a model like that, but our model is very tight. We do a 2-week time frame. Or 28-day time frame. We're not looking at grand schemes because, unfortunately, if we kept doing place-based forever, all our resources would be in a community of color, right? Unfortunately, that's where a lot of the crime occurs. So you got to be careful in the place-based idea, right? Now, focused deterrence is what the federal government talks about, is where you figure out who the less than 1% of the really bad individuals are, and you focus on them. And that is something that we do, right? We are trying to really, instead of have this big net we want to have a very specific, and I don't want to use the word targeted, but we're doing things to try to engage them to stop doing what they're doing. But if they don't, then we know which ones are committing the crimes, and we're trying to stop them from doing it.
Thanks.
Oh, Anthony?
Yeah, I just wanted to embellish your presentation just a little bit by saying one of the things that the intellectual asset in the CSAC is more than just watching the video screen, and we're more than just being able to identify what's going on visually. There's also the idea that the ALPRs, for all of their advances, the fact is we have to go into the history of that vehicle, make sure that that vehicle is truly stolen, or the tag is truly stolen, or the wanted person hasn't already been picked up, or et cetera, et cetera. And more times than not, you have to remember all that the ALPR is a camera and a way of digitizing the information that the camera picked up and then translating that into a hit. The fact is, license plates are just numbers and letters, but yet the ALPRs can get them wrong, but show that the vehicle is stolen or show that there's a wanted person in the vehicle. It takes that human element to make sure that, number one, that is the tag that has an issue, and number two, run that tag and identify what it is that they're looking for, whether it be a wanted person, the tag itself, that piece of metal is stolen, or the vehicle that piece of metal is attached to is stolen. So we've had tremendous success with it, but at the same time, without that human element, it's not as effective a tool as it could be. And then I want to translate that to facial recognition as well. Facial recognition, when a result comes back from facial recognition, that does not give us the A-OK and we're going to put out a warrant for that person's arrest. There's still the human element to identify some other particulars about that person. Was he in the area at that time? Was he in jail? Was she in jail at the time? Is there any possible way that this person could not have done that crime? So there's always a human element involved. Technology, as Captain Chentra eloquently put, is definitely a force multiplier, but without the human being and the thinking and the logic behind it, again, it's a tool. It is not always the end all be all of this job that we call law enforcement. And that's what I wanted to make sure that everyone understood, that the CSAC needs that human element to assist us.
For everyone on the call, that's Captain Anthony Ferrara. He's our investigations commander. I know a lot of people know him, but we do have some new members that might not know Anthony. I just wanted to introduce him to y'all.
I will tell you too that when Anthony first came on, I thought it was a picture of him. He was so still. He didn't even move. I'm like, oh wait, I think he blinked. Is that? Oh, it's a live photograph. So Anthony, your ability to stay still, I don't know if it's yoga, I'm not sure, meditation, whatever you do, highly impressive, highly. All right, any other questions? I can talk about this all day, folks, but I know you got other things to do. So, okay.
I actually do have one question for you.
Yes, sir.
Car accidents. Is there any interest in the department to use this for the sake of determining how a car accident occurred, despite how major or minor it may be?
And I'm assuming you're talking about traffic cameras.
Yes, sir.
And the answer is 100% no. I'm Mr. Fareed. And really, because we can't, the expense of recording everything would be immense, number one. And the public records rule, think about this. We would have to hire additional staff just to answer that question every single time. And I don't want you to think that these cameras are always facing the right direction, by the way. Most of the time they're facing like a business, like, they get turned. So a lot of times they're not even facing the intersection, or they don't even have a good view of the intersection. Most of the traffic cameras are what they call P to Z, which is point to zoom. So you can turn them and you can zoom in. Some are better than others. Some are older than others. But I can see your point. I mean, I think it would solve a lot of issues, but it would also create a huge expense. And I mean, if the city's willing to foot the bill, but you're probably looking at $100,000 in storage and one full person per year just doing public records and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm not against it because it would just give the department more data anyway. So, I mean, I'm for it. There would just be a pretty heavy cost involved. I hope that answered the question.
Yes, sir, it does. It does.
But I can see your point. It would definitely make everything more clear, and you wouldn't have to rely on somebody to tell the truth about what occurred. You could actually see it, right? So, it's a great idea. I just don't know if it's feasible. But yeah, it makes sense.
Yes, sir. Are there any other questions? If not, we'll move along. Chief Inspector Koenig, the floor is yours, ma'am, for this month's internal affairs investigations.
Excellent. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Fareed. Thank you so much. So we did have 5 internal affairs investigations that were included, but a couple of them are repeats from last. So the case that is 21-03 is the pursuit with the 5 individuals that we spoke about last time. So not the time when we didn't have the meeting, but the time before. The next case that is on the list is 21-09. This involves Officer Valsius, who was an officer in training and investigating a domestic situation, and ended up having some words inappropriately with one of the parties within it, and some illustrations of maybe some things that aren't appropriate. And besides the language that was used, he also was goaded into or tried to engage in the person was trying to engage him in an altercation. And the result of that investigation revealed a Rule 19, which is the immoral, unlawful character violation. It was sustained. He got an employee notice, 40-hour suspension. He also was sent back to our training and education division. And he's receiving de-escalation training, verbal judo training. And if Zariah was still here, we're sending him to the EO office in reference to the inappropriate language that was used. Some of the mitigating factors with Officer Valsius is that he's an officer that was in the training division at the time when this occurred. He also, his training officer was, at another building. They were kind of working a different call for service or thought the call was over. Another part was that even after Officer Valsius engaged in the verbal altercation and a little bit of the language with the gentleman, he changed his channel and went over to the victim and checked on her and showed compassion and kindness. So this one is sustained, and we also extended his probation, which you'll see for a period of 18 months. So we were very, very stringent and strict on this one in particular. Does anyone have questions on the 21-09? And Deborah, I'm not in the full screen to see everybody's hands. Let me switch out of there. There we go. All right. Okay. So no questions on that. So the 21-10 is the case with Mr. Garner. He came twice to the Police Advisory Council. We reviewed that. I personally reviewed the entire incident front to back again after our Internal Affairs Division did, and watched video, listened to CAD calls when the individuals called in. We have sustained the same finding that we did with Mr. Garner, sent him a letter, talked to him, and nothing has changed with that investigation. Did anyone have any questions on that before I move to the next? Okay. The next investigation is 21-13. It involves Officer Major Clark and Corporal Justin Torres. It was a domestic investigation involving a female individual who came over to an apartment and refused to leave her ex's apartment after being repeatedly asked to, resulted in an altercation in a bathroom with water being thrown and other things happening. And she ended up being taken to jail, and it was confirmed with a supervisor on scene the day of the call that she was the primary aggressor. This wasn't her apartment. This wasn't where she lived. She was refusing to leave. She continued to engage. When we reviewed the entire incident, including body-worn camera and everything else, we determined that this investigation was unfounded and there was no action required. Does anyone have any questions on this one? This is great, by the way, no questions. Okay, all right, so the next case is 21-15. This involves our field service technician, Deidre Jones. A complaint came in about Ms. Jones being discourteous, failing to write a report, and we looked at the investigation. This actually was handed down on a level, but what I will tell you is that there were conflicting statements in both sides of the investigation. And basically the gentleman was saying things occurred one way and Ms. Jones is saying they occurred a second way. But truly in the end of the investigation, the biggest result that came out of it is that Ms. Jones failed to activate her body-worn camera. And if Keon was on, we would have this awesome conversation because he says, do we hold people accountable for not activating their body-worn camera? And we sure do. So she got a written warning. And with that written warning, it was sustained for the failure to activate the body-worn camera. The courtesy complaint was not sustained and the failure to write a report was not sustained. The individual, when he said a report wasn't written, actually communicated to the officer on scene he wanted the report written. But Ms. Jones is saying that she was never asked to write a report. She's a field service technician, so she showed up after the fact. And we could not find any independent individuals who could give us information whether she was discourteous or not. And both of their statements conflicted. So when that happens, it ends up in a not sustained, which means we didn't have evidence to say that it did happen, and we didn't have evidence to say that it didn't happen. So that's why you have the two not sustains and then the one failure to activate the body-worn camera, which was sustained and will be part of the record. Does anyone have questions about this case in particular? Okay, excellent. So Chair Johnson, that's all that I have in terms of for IA this month. Next month will be quite a few more, and I will try to be a little more expeditious. And if you guys would like me to expound or go deeper into one of those investigations, you can ask me. Just in terms of time's sake, I don't want to take up too much time because I know you guys have a lot to talk about.
Okay, Inspector Kernick, Sheila has her hand up.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Sheila.
Hey, I just want to say that I feel sorry. 2109 was very painful to read. And it seemed like the officer was really trying to do a good job. And maybe if someone else had gotten there sooner. I guess it was a long report. I guess I didn't realize that he was kind of a rookie, but I just felt very sorry about the whole thing. It just seemed like he was trying to do the best thing and that the language wasn't good, but he was trying to, so it was very, very painful to read. That's all I want to say.
Yes, ma'am. He is an officer that's in training at the time of that case, Sheila, and his FTO was one building away. And when he asked for assistance from the FTO came over, but there was a significant portion of time where it was him with the two individuals involved in that call by himself. And from the very onset of the call, the individual, the male subject in the report, was very demeaning to the officer and continued to talk over him, wouldn't listen to him. And it was several minutes of this back and forth kind of, I'm trying to make sure that the female is okay. And then going back, it was a very, we had a lot of questions, and the officer was very truthful about what happened, which we always tell you that's what we're looking for. We also understand his inexperience and the results of it. So we took into account a lot of factors. It has not been often that we take into all the factors all the time. So thank you for the comment.
It seemed like a no-win for him.
Yeah, I'll second that. I mean, I felt very bad for him. I thought it was an incredibly difficult position to be in. Yeah.
And I think I agree. And I think it's really just experience in dealing with that kind of, it's just having more and more experience in life and in your job to get better at doing that. And unfortunately, you have to go through that to get better at it. I mean, you can run all the scenarios in the world, but I don't know I could have sat through that and handled. I mean, it appeared very challenging for him. So I do have some sympathy for him, but it's a good example of how hard just sometimes working with the public can be.
It makes standing up in front of students seem not so hard after all.
I will second that in so many levels. And the hardest part is for us to navigate de-escalation of a situation when you're trying to make sure that both parties aren't injured, right? And both parties, more importantly, the one that seems to be getting quieted and did something really happen? And we are taught to investigate domestic violence in a very thorough way. And with that said, he felt an obligation to that victim. And we all feel that. And sometimes each investigation is a little bit difficult, as you work through it, especially when you have someone who is trying to interfere with what you're doing, even if everything ended up okay. So
I can relate based on my own career. When I first started, I was very young in law. Fortunately, as I got older, experience became my best teacher, and I learned how to deal with things from a more mature standpoint than I did when I got in, when I was still in my still wet behind the ears and in my 20s. So it is true. It may sound cliche, but experience is the best teacher.
I just want to give kudos to my IA investigators. If you read those reports and felt that, then I know they really captured what happened on the day of. So we have two of the most senior sergeants at the agency who are investigators, and a brand new lieutenant to our internal affairs division who's doing a phenomenal job named Tim Durst. So Sergeant Strama, Sergeant Hayes are two very veteran supervisors. So we're very blessed to have them. And Miss Deborah, Mr. Fareed, this is all that I have for you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any other questions for Chief Inspector Kern? Okay, if not, is there any member comment? Wow, this is surprising. Our next meeting, Deborah, are we going to be virtual again, or are we gonna take it? I see that the agenda says it's going back to the meeting room. Is that accurate?
It is at Charles's discretion. The reason why we did this virtual is because a majority was concerned about the COVID protocols. And so that's why we did this one virtually, but it is at the whim of the council. If y'all would like to have 6 people in person, 4 people online, or everyone attend in person, or if you want another virtual workshop, it is your decision, sir.
I know we can't vote, but I'll ask it like this. Is there any objection to going back to the meeting room? Okay, if not, we'll move forward. So with that being said, everyone have a blessed evening and meeting adjourned.